I think my workplace's new employee is a sociopath. Posted by you/SkellyBones69. I am in lower management in a white-collar workplace. My department has around 25 people total, and I run a small team of around 10 employees. The work environment is pretty casual. It's common for people to become friends with their coworkers, and people often go out for drinks or to events after work and socialize. Around 6 months ago, a woman joined the department. I'll call her Jane. She is not on my team, but we all utilize a shared office space, and she sits directly beside me. Jane is in her 20s, but she is very small and thin and is often mistaken for a younger teen. Within a month of joining the department, Jane began to have crying episodes at work. The reasons seemed legitimate: death of family members, legal/housing issues, etc. The department was very empathetic and did their best to uplift her when she seemed to be suffering. I did not notice at the time, but she began to form a pattern of having crying episodes once every week or two. They were never loud or dramatic. She'd just well up at her desk and start messaging people on Slack asking if they had time to talk. Usually, someone, often other women in the department, would take her aside and offer verbal support until she got herself together. I and the others in management often encouraged her to take the rest of the day off, but she always refused, and after being comforted, would return to work completely normally, laughing and joking. About 3 months ago, Jane developed a huge crush on a man in an adjacent department. She gushed to the other women about how handsome he was and obsessed over any interaction with him. He spoke to her in passing maybe twice, and she didn't even know his name, but began to talk about how excited she was to date him so she could move away from her current situation. This raised some yellow flags, but we collectively shrugged it off as a young person with a big crush. Eventually, Jane convinced a coworker to pass the young man her phone number. Unfortunately, he elected not to text her. Jane became unusually agitated and began to loudly complain. At one point, she allegedly texted one of her team leads at 9 p.m. complaining that she deserved an explanation and was being ghosted. Her coworkers tried to talk her down, reminding her that the young man may be married or simply uninterested, but she refused to listen and continued her loud, public ranting. Jane said she wanted to look especially hot to make her crush regret ghosting her. She began to imitate some of the younger women in the department, buying dupes of their outfits and accessories and openly asking where they bought their clothing so she could get the same thing. She heavily fixated on one gothic woman in particular, to the point where she would wear copies of her outfits from the day before, like clockwork. The woman she was copying apparently became irritated and began to show up to work in increasingly outlandish body chains and harnesses to shake the copying, and some of the snarkier people began to make bets on whether or not Jane would show up to work in a harness. She did not. At this point, several people from work went out on a Friday for drinks. Again, the department is very casual, and Jane was invited. During the course of the evening, she allegedly became blackout drunk on 2 drinks and railroaded the evening by beginning to cry loudly about her ex-hookup. The sister of a coworker took her to the restroom, where she ranted for at least half an hour about how frustrated she was over